Picture this. A 30-year-old in cargo shorts and a wrinkled t-shirt, sleeping on a beanbag in his office. This same guy just became one of the richest people on Earth, worth $26 billion. He's promising to give it all away to save humanity from extinction. But here's where it gets real. Within 72 hours, every penny would be gone. The question isn't how he lost it all. It's whether he ever really had it. What happened next changed everything we thought we knew about crypto's golden boy. Sam Bankman-Fried wasn't born to be a billionaire. He was born to be a math nerd at Stanford professor's dinner table. His parents weren't just any academics. They were legal powerhouses at one of America's most prestigious universities. Barbara Fried and Joseph Bankman shaped policy, wrote law review articles, and moved in circles where ideas became legislation. At MIT, something clicked when Sam discovered effective altruism. The idea that you should get filthy rich just to give it all away. Think about it. What if the best way to save the world wasn't working at a charity, but making billions on Wall Street? This wasn't some college phase. Sam was calculating how many malaria nets his future salary could buy. While his classmates worried about grades, he was already planning his path to maximum impact. The philosophy was seductive. Earn more, give more, save more lives. Jane Street Capital became his training ground, one of the most elite trading firms where only the smartest survive. These weren't your typical Wall Street bros. Jane Street hired MIT physics majors and math Olympians. They traded billions using algorithms most people couldn't even pronounce. But Sam had a different plan. While others chased Ferraris and Manhattan penthouses, he was calculating impact. Every dollar he made was a dollar that could prevent suffering somewhere else in the world. His colleagues thought he was weird. Sam thought they were missing the point. The moment that changed everything came in 2017. Bitcoin was going absolutely insane. Everyone was talking about it. Your barista, your Uber driver, your grandmother. But Sam saw something others missed. He noticed Bitcoin was trading for thousands more in some countries than others. Most people saw an interesting fact. Sam saw free money sitting on the table. This wasn't gambling. This was math. Enter Alameda Research, a name deliberately chosen to sound boring and academic. No flashy crypto branding, no rocket ship logos. Just a name that wouldn't scare away the banks when Sam needed to open accounts in 12 different countries. The strategy was brilliant in its simplicity. Buy Bitcoin cheap in America. Sell it expensive in Japan or Korea. Pocket the difference. We're talking about moving $25 million a day through this operation. And Sam was just getting started. But here's the thing about easy money. It never lasts forever. As more traders caught on, the price differences started shrinking. The arbitrage opportunities were drying up. Sam needed a new plan. That's when he decided to build something that would change crypto forever, or destroy it. By 2019, Sam wasn't just another trader making money off price differences. He was ready to build an empire. FTX launched with a radical promise. While other exchanges looked like they were built in someone's garage, FTX felt professional, clean, almost too good to be true. The marketing genius wasn't just the product, it was Sam himself. Picture this. While other crypto CEOs wore gold chains and drove Lamborghinis, Sam drove a Toyota Corolla. He lived in what he called just sharing an apartment with roommates. That apartment happened to be a $30 million penthouse in the Bahamas. But who's counting? The world ate it up. Here was a billionaire who genuinely didn't care about money. Tom Brady, Giselle, Larry David. A-list celebrities lined up to endorse this humble math nerd. The Super Bowl ad with Larry David was pure genius. Don't miss out on crypto. The message was clear. Even skeptics were coming around. But behind the scenes, something else was happening that nobody talked about. FTX and Alameda were supposed to be separate companies. Emphasis on supposed to be. Sam owned both. And that should have been the first red flag. The question everyone should have asked: what happens when the guy running the casino also owns the biggest player at the table? November 2017. Bitcoin is going absolutely insane, hitting new highs every day. Your neighbor who couldn't figure out email 6 months ago is suddenly an expert on blockchain technology. Everyone's watching the price rocket toward $20,000. But Sam noticed something weird. Something that would make him incredibly rich. Bitcoin was trading for $5,000 more in Japan than in America. Let that sink in. The exact same digital asset selling for wildly different prices depending on where you bought it. Most people saw an interesting market inefficiency. Sam saw the opportunity of a lifetime. This wasn't some small difference. We're talking about massive gaps. In South Korea, Bitcoin was trading at what locals called the kimchi premium, sometimes 30% higher than US prices. In Japan, similar spreads existed every single day. Here's where Sam's math background paid off. While everyone else was arguing about whether Bitcoin would hit $100,000 or crash to zero, Sam was doing something much smarter. He was making guaranteed profits regardless of which direction the market moved. The strategy seemed simple. Buy Bitcoin in America for $15,000, sell it in Japan for $20,000, pocket $5,000 per Bitcoin, rinse and repeat. But executing this strategy, that was the hard part. First, you needed massive amounts of capital in multiple countries. Then you needed bank accounts that wouldn't freeze when millions of dollars started flowing through them daily. You needed to navigate currency controls, anti-money laundering laws, and regulatory frameworks in a dozen different jurisdictions. Most people couldn't work out how to make the trade, but Sam had a secret weapon, the effective Altruism network. Through EA connections, he found partners in Japan and Korea who could help execute the other side of these trades. Sam also secured something most traders could only dream of, a $150 million loan from Jan Tallinn, the co-founder of Skype. This wasn't just any investor. Tallinn was a true believer in effective altruism, and he saw Sam as someone who could generate massive returns for charitable causes. Alameda Research would buy Bitcoin on American exchanges like Coinbase. Then they'd sell it on Japanese exchanges like Bitflyer at the higher price. The profits were staggering. Some reports put their daily volume at $25 million. Others suggest they were making $10 to $30 million in pure profit during the peak arbitrage period. But here's what made Sam different from other arbitrage traders. He wasn't just skimming profits. He was building systems, creating relationships, learning how money really moved in this new digital economy. Every trade taught him something new about how exchanges operated, how they managed risk, where their vulnerabilities were. He was getting a masterclass in crypto exchange operations, funded by guaranteed profits. The legend of Alameda was born during these months. They were the guys who figured out how to capture free money while everyone else was speculating. In a world full of gamblers, Sam looked like the only adult in the room. But there's a problem with opportunities like this. They don't last forever. Once word spread about the arbitrage possibilities, more traders entered the market. The price differences started shrinking. Competition increased. Regulatory scrutiny intensified. By January 2018, the easy money was drying up. The spreads that once guaranteed millions in daily profits were down to hundreds of thousands. then hundreds, then nothing. Most arbitrage traders would have called it a good run and moved on to the next opportunity. But Sam had bigger plans. He'd tasted what it felt like to move massive amounts of money across global markets. He'd seen how primitive most crypto exchanges were, how much room there was for improvement. The arbitrage king was about to become something much more ambitious. He was going to build the exchange he wished had existed during those profitable months in 2017. An exchange that would make the arbitrage days look like pocket change. The question was whether the world was ready for what Sam Bankman-Fried would build next. 2019. Sam launches FTX from a tiny office in Hong Kong with a radical promise. This wasn't going to be another sketchy crypto exchange run by anonymous developers. This was going to be the Goldman Sachs of digital assets. While other exchanges looked like they were built in someone's garage, FTX felt professional, almost too good to be true. The interface was clean, the trading tools were sophisticated, the risk management seemed bulletproof. For the first time, institutional investors could look at a crypto platform without cringing. But the marketing genius wasn't just the product, it was Sam himself. Picture this. While other crypto CEOs wore Lamborghinis and gold chains, Sam drove a Toyota Corolla. While they flaunted penthouse parties, Sam slept on a beanbag in his office. While they posted Instagram photos from private jets, Sam wore the same wrinkled t-shirt for weeks. The contrast was perfect. In a world full of crypto bros promising moon missions, here was a guy who looked like he'd rather be solving math problems. The media couldn't get enough of it. He lived in a $30 million penthouse in the Bahamas, but called it just sharing an apartment with roommates. He was worth billions, but drove a beat-up Toyota. He could buy anything in the world, but seemed genuinely uninterested in luxury. The world ate it up. Here was a billionaire who genuinely didn't care about money. A tech founder who wasn't in it for ego or status. Someone who was building wealth for all the right reasons. Tom Brady, Giselle, Larry David, A-list celebrities lined up to endorse this humble math nerd. The partnerships weren't just endorsements. These celebrities were getting equity stakes in FTX. They weren't just promoting it. They were betting their own money on Sam's vision. The Super Bowl ad with Larry David was pure genius. Throughout history, Larry plays the skeptic dismissing great inventions. The wheel? It'll never work. The light bulb? Waste of time. And then the punchline. Don't miss out on crypto. Even the ultimate skeptic was coming around. But the real masterstroke was how Sam positioned himself in Washington. While other crypto executives avoided regulators, Sam embraced them. He testified before Congress. He donated millions to political campaigns. He made crypto feel safe for lawmakers who barely understood email. $40 million in political donations made him the second largest Democratic donor in America. But here's what most people didn't know. He was also secretly funding Republicans through dark money channels. Sam was playing both sides, building relationships across the entire political spectrum. He was testifying before Congress, dining with world leaders, planning to spend $1 billion on the 2024 election. For a 30-year-old who'd been unknown just 5 years earlier, Sam had accumulated incredible political power incredibly fast. Meanwhile, FTX was exploding. By 2021, they were processing $15 billion in daily trading volume. The company was valued at $32 billion. Sam personally was worth $26 billion, making him one of the richest people under 30 in history. The naming rights deals came next. The Miami Heat's arena became FTX Arena for $135 million over 19 years. Major League Baseball umpires wore FTX patches on their uniforms. Formula One teams, esports organizations, crypto conferences, FTX's logo was everywhere. But there's something important that nobody was talking about during this meteoric rise. FTX and Alameda were supposed to be separate companies. Sam owned both, but that was supposed to be just a technicality. FTX was the exchange where customers traded. Alameda was the trading firm that made bets with its own money. The two companies were supposed to have completely separate finances, separate risk management, separate everything. But here's the question everyone should have been asking. What happens when the guy running the casino also owns the biggest player at the table? What happens when the same person controls both the exchange and one of its largest customers? The answer to that question would soon destroy everything Sam had built. But for now, in 2021, Sam Bankman-Fried looked unstoppable. He was crypto's golden boy, the responsible face of a chaotic industry. The billionaire who was going to save the world. The only problem, none of it was real. By 2022, Sam wasn't just rich. He was becoming dangerously powerful. $40 million in political donations made him the second largest Democratic donor in America. He was testifying before Congress, dining with world leaders, planning to spend $1 billion on the 2024 election. This wasn't just business success. This was the kind of influence that shapes nations. But something was rotting beneath the surface of this crypto empire. The Terra Luna collapse in May 2022 sent shockwaves through crypto markets. What seemed like a contained disaster in one corner of the ecosystem was about to reveal just how interconnected everything really was. And Alameda Research got hit hard. While Sam was playing savior publicly, bailing out failing crypto companies like some kind of crypto JP Morgan, privately, Alameda was hemorrhaging money on risky trades and bad bets. The firm that had built its reputation on guaranteed arbitrage profits was now gambling with billions. Here's where the story gets dark. Instead of admitting losses and shutting down Alameda like a responsible CEO would do, Sam made a decision that would destroy everything he'd built. FTX customer deposits, money that was supposed to be safe and separate, started flowing to Alameda. Think about what this means. When you deposit money on a stock trading platform like Charles Schwab, that money sits in your account. The brokerage can't use it to make their own trades or cover their own losses. It's your money, held in trust, completely separate from the company's finances. But FTX wasn't operating like that. The boundaries between customer money and trading capital began to blur. What nobody knew was that billions of customer dollars were being used as Alameda's personal piggy bank. Every time Alameda made a bad trade, they didn't absorb the loss like a normal trading firm would. Instead, they just reached into FTX's customer deposits to cover it. It was like a casino using chips from the customer cage to pay for the owner's gambling debts. The house of cards was getting taller and more unstable every day. Sam's public image as the responsible crypto CEO was becoming more important than ever. Because the bigger the gap between perception and reality, the more dangerous the situation became. He needed everyone to believe FTX was rock solid, even as billions of dollars were secretly being moved around behind the scenes. The irony is incredible. While Sam was testifying before Congress about responsible crypto regulation, his own companies were operating with exactly the kind of reckless disregard that regulators feared most. While he was bailing out other crypto firms to look like the adult in the room, his own firm was committing fraud on a massive scale. But here's what made it even worse. Sam wasn't just stealing customer money to cover trading losses. According to prosecutors, some of that money was being used for political donations, luxury real estate purchases, and personal investments. Customer funds that people thought were safely held at FTX were being used to buy influence in Washington. The effective altruism narrative made it all seem noble. Sam wasn't enriching himself. He was accumulating resources to save humanity. Every dollar stolen from customers could theoretically be justified as a dollar that would eventually go toward preventing pandemics or stopping AI from destroying civilization. It's a twisted logic, but it explains how someone who genuinely believed he was saving the world could rationalize stealing $8 billion from the people who trusted him. By late 2022, the pressure was mounting. Crypto markets were crashing. Alameda's losses were accelerating. The amount of customer money needed to keep everything afloat was growing larger every month. Sam was running out of time, running out of customer funds to steal, and running out of ways to hide what he'd done. The golden boy image that had protected him for so long was about to crumble. All it would take was one person asking the right questions. November 2nd, 2022. A CoinDesk article drops that changes everything. Alameda's balance sheet leaks, and it's full of FTT tokens. Basically, IOUs from Sam to himself. Most people didn't understand what they were looking at, but CZ from Binance did. Here's what made this so dangerous. FTT was FTX's own token, created by Sam's team, mostly owned by Sam's companies, and now apparently being used as collateral for billions in loans. It was like discovering that a bank's entire reserve system was backed by monopoly money they'd printed themselves. November 6th, CZ tweets that Binance will sell all their FTT tokens. In crypto, when the biggest exchange in the world dumps your token, that's a death sentence. CZ wasn't just selling, he was sending a message. And that message was, "I don't trust FTX anymore." Within hours, FTT crashes 80%. Panic spreads through crypto Twitter like wildfire. If CZ doesn't trust Sam, who can you trust? But here's where it gets really crazy. $6 billion in withdrawals hit FTX in just 72 hours. Think about that number. $6 billion. In 3 days. Money that should have been there, wasn't. Sam tweets, FTX is fine. Assets are fine. But behind the scenes, he's desperately calling CZ, begging for help. The same CZ who just destroyed his token is now his only hope for survival. The next day, CZ announces something nobody saw coming. Binance will buy FTX. The biggest crypto exchange in the world is acquiring its main competitor. It should have been the deal of the century. For about 24 hours, it looked like Sam had pulled off a miracle. Sure, he'd lose control of his company, but FTX would survive. Customers would get their money back. The crypto golden boy would live to fight another day. But then, CZ's team got a look at FTX's actual books. What they saw was so bad that CZ walked away from the deal within 48 hours. Think about that. CZ had already announced the acquisition publicly. His reputation was on the line. Walking away would make him look indecisive, maybe even incompetent. But whatever he saw in those books was worse than the embarrassment of backing out. Years later, CZ would describe it as complete chaos. No proper accounting, no separation between customer funds and company money, no real understanding of where billions of dollars had gone. November 11th, FTX files for bankruptcy. The boy genius who was worth $26 billion on Monday was broke by Friday. But the real shock wasn't how fast he lost it. It was where the money went. John Ray III, the guy who cleaned up Enron, takes over FTX. And he's never seen anything this bad. Complete failure of corporate controls and complete absence of trustworthy financial information. The man who untangled one of the biggest corporate frauds in American history was calling FTX worse than Enron. The truth starts coming out, and it's worse than anyone imagined. $8 billion in customer funds, just gone. Sam had been using FTX like his personal bank account, moving customer money to cover Alameda's losses. Caroline Ellison, Sam's ex-girlfriend and Alameda's CEO, admits they used customer funds. Gary Wang, his MIT roommate and FTX co-founder, testifies that Sam directed him to create special code. This code gave Alameda unlimited access to customer deposits, with no collateral required. The effective altruism, the humble billionaire act, the promise to save the world, all of it was covering up fraud. But here's what's really crazy. Sam kept doing interviews, kept claiming it was all just bad risk management. Even after arrest, he's giving media tours trying to spin the story. The man who'd just been caught stealing $8 billion was still trying to convince people he was the victim. The trial reveals the truth. This wasn't incompetence. It was calculated theft. 7 felony convictions, 25 years in prison. The question that haunts everyone, was any of it real, or was Sam always a con man? John Ray III, the guy who cleaned up Enron, takes over FTX, and he's never seen anything this bad. Complete failure of corporate controls and complete absence of trustworthy financial information. The truth starts coming out, and it's worse than anyone imagined. $8 billion in customer funds, just gone. Sam had been using FTX like his personal bank account, moving customer money to cover Alameda's losses. The separate companies story was a lie. They shared bank accounts, loans, everything. Caroline Ellison, Sam's ex-girlfriend and Alameda's CEO, admits they used customer funds. Gary Wang, his MIT roommate and FTX co-founder, testifies that Sam directed him to create special code. This code gave Alameda unlimited access to customer deposits, with no collateral required. Think about what this means. Normal trading firms have limits. If you want to borrow money to make trades, you have to put up collateral. If your trades go bad, you get liquidated before you can lose more than you have. But Alameda had a secret back door. They could borrow unlimited amounts from FTX customer deposits without putting up a penny of their own money. It was like having a credit card with no limit and no consequences. Every time Alameda made a bad trade, they didn't face the music like every other trading firm in the world. They just reached deeper into customer funds. When crypto markets crashed in 2022, instead of shutting down or raising more capital, they stole more money. The effective altruism, the humble billionaire act, the promise to save the world. All of it was covering up fraud. But here's what's really crazy. Sam kept doing interviews, kept claiming it was all just bad risk management. Even after arrest, he's giving media tours trying to spin the story. The trial reveals the scope of the deception. This wasn't some accounting error or liquidity crisis. This was systematic theft over years. Prosecutors show how Sam used customer money to view luxury real estate in the Bahamas, make massive political donations, undoes his personal investments. Click before, chosen in the count or 1% of the MIT-REITs together. For great by Meliter themselves go down. Still just with him and speak to a media. But for them data is now bringing to spin the production one, even then start with him to check out to the minutes me. This is what I word more than was still figure out with me and still figure out with me to do them for this. This continue suffer data is to let them me to both 3 years on the new man. This is makingly farm, but it's maramung together when they are principal. This principal struggle defensive for again, which being his video day of the local protectional finding. But he was much closely when one get in one. before required that their principal are their important to investing. It was absolutely clear that it could beginning themselves down. It wasn't beginning in the provided minutes media from data of the company of the real story tours. Sam his personal investments, over Laminative's trading losses, and then trading losses on given across the middle. Sam felt anything. Given themselves when freed themselves with hisbandethers. Whatever known is what never started by that. Sam even go to this media to remain more professionally at the nether, but it's not going to a blessed today. Able to do this point that Sam for death and lem that given comes from me, unfortunately that Sam don't. The drink the story that Sam from B, we consider themselves on much more life. Sam try to do this for this, which is partly letting the ranged right in many more. Even for this one, this provided even vested in the body, Sam caped up to the drinks, and this place the next metal of the productions. Sam is business the first by the next metal, he made it covered from you and greater to mount the person from them. Sam given to cleaning them with lived in the temperature, but it's per further making a principle for again. This where the simple mentioned around in fact the same created. They well see from, but the middle has brother region to a visits probably on the principle and reveals. The dream broken by them getting the drinks and the very metal of the specific, unfortunately, which makes him stirrified and confirmed to the description. The dream broke it of just a simple mention of laying to the brock of the report, but it's the middle has brother was actively justament about Sunday between. If human state the brocket of the report, they knew long to drink and the ground, well after the brock which is given by the drink of them. So maybe that was more true themselves, but the great of researching work. The dream broke it of just a simple mention of laying to the drink, that grit of the report. It has provided the death to still protected them to what it is. This makes the very feet to be securedly and revents the training people. So which the more that was ground, but one company more of the sensurism. The very metal made the cleaning to the middle, what we do have at this for minutes me. It was also comfortable reasons for mineral and metal minutes me because it was deep into the world. The atom just a few, when people doing the other information on the needs. Trading losses. A for celebrity endorsements, and march of them in skipped with completely just and the concerns. Which makes for one, but he was, figure out the right and supported was, and the middle of the long of the days, as make for celebrity. A provided everything when same friends, it will not. In maybe this information my views, but let me losses, endorsements, and marketing. The $30 million penthouse where he lived with 9 roommates? Bought with customer funds. The $40 million in political donations that made him a Washington power player? Customer money. The investments in AI companies and venture capital funds. All of it came from FTX customer deposits. But the most damning evidence comes from his inner circle. Caroline Ellison testifies that Sam knew exactly what was happening. She describes meetings where they discussed how to hide the missing money from auditors and regulators. Gary Wang reveals that Sam personally directed him to create the special code that gave Alameda access to customer funds. This wasn't some rogue employee going off script. This was the CEO ordering his CTO to build fraud into the system. Nishad Singh, the head of engineering, testifies about how they disguised the theft in their accounting systems. Customer deposits would disappear from FTX and magically appear as loans to Alameda, loans that were never expected to be repaid. The prosecution paints a picture of a criminal enterprise disguised as a tech startup. Every major decision at FTX was designed to enable the theft of customer money. The sophisticated risk management systems that Sam bragged about, they had carve-outs for Alameda. The compliance procedures that impressed regulators, they didn't apply to Sam's trading firm. Even the corporate structure was designed for fraud. FTX and Alameda weren't just owned by the same person. They operated as a single entity with shared bank accounts, shared employees, and shared access to customer funds. The defense tries to paint Sam as an overwhelmed young CEO who made mistakes but never intended to commit fraud. They argue that he genuinely believed FTX was solvent and that the customer funds would eventually be repaid. But the evidence is overwhelming. Text messages show Sam discussing how to hide the missing money. Financial records show systematic transfers of customer funds to cover Alameda's losses. Witness testimony reveals that Sam knew exactly what was happening and approved every major decision. The trial reveals the truth. This wasn't incompetence, it was calculated theft. 7 felony convictions, 25 years in prison. The question that haunts everyone, was any of it real, or was Sam always a con man? So what's the insane truth about Sam Bankman-Fried? Maybe he started believing his own hype, thinking the rules didn't apply to someone trying to save the world. Or maybe he was always a fraud, using effective altruism as the perfect cover story. What we know for sure, he stole $8 billion from people who trusted him. The crypto industry is still recovering from the damage he caused. And somewhere in a federal prison, the boy who promised to give away his fortune is serving 25 years. The real victims aren't the billionaire investors or celebrity endorsers. They're the regular people who lost their life savings believing in crypto's golden boy. If there's one lesson from Sam's story, it's this. When someone promises to save the world with your money, maybe ask where that money actually goes first.